All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the What's Next podcast, where we sit down with entrepreneurs, business professionals, and real estate agents to talk about tech, real estate, and everything interesting. I'm your host, Max Bergstrom, and this is What's Next. Let's go! We sit down with real estate agents and talk about how the industry is changing, thriving with technology. We look at strategy. We love it. And welcome to What's Next podcast. Welcome to another episode of the What's Next podcast. It's my pleasure to be here with Steffien. He's a top-rated real estate agent, broker, and franchise owner of multiple Help You Sell branches across Southern California. And most importantly, he's a friend of mine. Kurt, how are you today?
Max, very good. Thanks for having me. My first time with a podcast, a little nervous, but I love it now.
That's great. That's great. Well, you look very sharp today.
It's the uniform. I wear it every day for 30 years. It's just part of me.
Yeah. So are you, like my dad was a lawyer and then a judge, and he was always like, he would dress casual, but he was always real put together. Like a casual day, he would still have like a loose collared shirt. You know what I mean? Are you kind of like one of those guys where when you're doing casual, it's still kind of nice?
As I've evolved over the years, I believe people should have a uniform. If you have a job, you should wear the uniform.
Right.
And I'm doing a professional job.
Yeah.
I'm meeting with people. They expect a certain image. Now, as we've evolved and with the coronavirus, would I like a golf shirt? Yeah, it happens a lot. But for the most part, this is what I wear every day.
Yep, absolutely. And so but if you were selling like Harley Davidsons, it would be a different uniform. And
Absolutely.
If you were a plumber, it would be a different uniform. And
At In-N-Out, I'd wear the uniform if I was selling Harleys. But yeah, as a professional real estate professional, I believe this is the appropriate attire.
Yeah. Well, you're looking good, and it's great to have you on the show here. I just wanted to start by, every time that I've talked with you, you always have great stories. You're very charismatic. You're fun to talk to. You always have a lot of valuable things to say. But what I don't know a lot about is kind of how you got to where you are and a little bit about your background. I know a little bit about where you grew up and everything, but go into that a little bit for me and tell me about, how did you get started on your journey? I know you did a lot of things before getting into real estate. So take us through that.
Went to school down here in San Diego, UCSD, studying engineering. How did I get into real estate? Well, that's the second half. The first half of my life was being an engineer, focusing on corporate law, focusing on contracts, focusing on their IT budgets.
Gotcha.
For 30 years. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Was approaching 50 at the time when you think about retiring, at least for me. I was very blessed in life. And I went into real estate. I wanted to be a Renaissance man. I wanted to look at real estate. I wanted to look at construction, kind of use those as hobbies to still stay active and do things. It turned out I absolutely loved real estate.
Just like that.
Just like that.
You just were like real estate and that was it.
Well, what was interesting for me is I thought I could only do one thing, and that would be to call large corporations and help them with their IT budgets.
And that's what you did?
That's exactly what I did.
And you did the same thing for 30 years?
30 years. And again, back to the suit. That was the uniform back then.
Sure.
I'd call on defense contractors, Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed, talk to their upper management about how they were going to procure and pay for the IT budgets. Great life. As I was turning 50, it was time to get out.
Yeah.
And that's when I wanted to make this transition into something else. It's funny, we were, before this started, talking about some other social media where people may look at real estate and say, is that what I really want? No, not for me. For me, I loved it. I liked helping people.
Yeah.
And after I became an agent, I had another very large European company that wanted me to do what I had always done for them. And I did for a little bit. But I decided,
so you were doing both things there for a while?
I'm all or nothing.
Yeah.
At that point in time, it was a German-based company. They were probably the largest in the world in what we did. And they wanted me to help them with these large corporations. I did it. I had a great time. I always typically love what I'm doing. But that was a chapter in my life that was over, and I wanted to move now into real estate, and I've loved it ever since.
Yeah, so you move into real estate. So what were some of the skills that you learned over your 30-year career as an engineer that you have brought into real estate? I mean, was there like, were you doing like sales? Did you do a lot of customer service? I mean, if you're on the phone, I would imagine that you probably are, you seem like you're very skilled on the phone. You're nice to have a conversation with. So what can you tell me about that?
Great questions. You know, when I first started, it was with Century 21. There were 1,200 agents at this office, and I was one of those 1,200.
Yeah.
And it was such a different time in my life where, you know, you're trying to learn the classes, the documentation. You know, turn the clock forward to today, I know the paperwork. And when an attorney calls me and asks questions about our paperwork, I confidently know how to answer those questions. It's been ingrained, but day one was alien. It was new. What I had going for me is I knew contract law. I knew paperwork. But most importantly, was just simply I like people. I like helping people and answering the telephone.
Right. Yeah, so if you can, I mean, that's like the two main things when you get started is answering and talking on the telephone and helping people. And you already had a leg up since you knew something about contracts. So that's great. So did it come very easily to you, or did you kind of like struggle a little bit when you started? Was there a heavy learning curve? Or?
It absolutely struggled in the beginning, just getting my hands around the paperwork, the process, the flow. When you work for a huge brokerage, there's the infrastructure, so you'd think, but who can you really turn to say, how do I do this?
Yeah.
How do I proceed with this part of it? That was difficult for me.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I started with Century 21, absolutely loved the outfit. Went to Coldwell Banker, loved those guys. From there, Keller Williams, great training. I have nothing but respect for all my colleagues in these different brokerages.
Sure.
But as I was evolving, I started realizing, well, what's different between any of them?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pick on those guys. Throw the rest of the mix in there. Remax, Sotheby's, all of them. You know, what differentiates one brokerage from another or one agent from another?
Yeah. So then when did you start with Help You Sell? How far into your real estate career?
As I was cutting my teeth at Century 21 and these other brokerages, I decided that I really liked it. The thing I, as a person, loved the most was realizing I could do something else with the second half. And this was what I had chosen. I also decided I wanted to own a brokerage. And I had just decided on Coldwell Banker at the time. And again, I shouldn't be using these names because they're irrelevant to the bigger story. But I like Coldwell, and I was going to own a Coldwell Banker brokerage. That's when I started doing my homework. And remember, we've had a lot of ups and downs. Right now, the market is crazy. It's literally crazy. What will it be next year? I don't know. But when I first started was at the time that the mortgage crisis happened.
Yes.
And I mean, boy, it was different back then. And as I looked at the different brokerages, they all seemed to cost about the same. You would think
regardless of the size of it.
Yeah.
Or what
if you were to buy like a franchise, say, just pick one, the franchise fees were very, very close. Now, they may have other requirements, but the actual fee to buy it was very close. Then I went through the more philosophical questions, but what differentiates a Remax from a whatever, or any of them? And they all seemed the same. You know, it was, well, what makes you better?
Right.
Well, I'm the best. It just didn't jive. So at that point in time, I was at one of our national conventions here in California, and I ran across Help You Sell, which was different. It was unique. It was something that I just thought, this is something people would want, and I could sell it because I believe in it.
Yeah, so and Help You Sell started in 1976, and they kind of disrupt the whole 6% commission is what you pay. So what's the model there, and why is Help You Sell the best option?
I love these questions. Thank you, Max. The Help You Sell is a fixed fee brokerage. But remember, no matter what the brokerage is that you're dealing with, they're independently owned and operated for the most part. The managing broker could choose the direction of their franchise.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Help You Sell is, by model, a fixed fee brokerage. If someone calls me up and says, Kurt, what's your fee? I give them my fee.
And you can choose it.
And I could choose it. And what is my fee? Well, it doesn't matter what the cost of the house is. The model is very simplistic. If you have a neighborhood where a house is facing the ocean and the identical model on the other side of the street isn't facing the ocean, we all know that the one selling on the ocean side is going to sell for more. Mm-hmm. But why should that person pay so much more in real estate commissions when it's the same neighborhood, same street, same model? Mm-hmm. We base our fee on the work we do. And now with Help You Sell, since I have had this engineering background, I'd been with great brokerages. I also realized it's very simple to offer the consumer top-notch everything and just cookie cut it. Every single person who calls would get our same standard package.
Okay, so when you say top-notch everything, like what comes in the stand? If I was going to sell my home and you were my agent, what would I expect to receive?
And with this being our first interaction in a format like this, I just wanted to take a moment to say everyone's very educated out there. Mm-hmm. When someone's looking for a house, they're going to the typical websites, homes.com, realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia. Mm-hmm. They see how others are marketing their property and what's catching their eyes.
Right.
I'd almost want people to just close their eyes for a minute and picture what that perfect marketing would be and expect it. Now with us, I think we do expect top-notch marketing, and we offer it to people with a guarantee, a satisfaction guarantee, because we're that confident. To answer your question more specifically, if you're imagining selling your house, you want top-notch photography. You want just great photos of the property. You would want Matterport 3D or something similar. We use Matterport. We think it's the best on the market for the most realistic 3D walkthrough, but there's other programs out there. But you would want something like that, especially in today's world where people aren't trying to get out as much as before and they want to do some of the shopping on the internet. Mm-hmm. It's nice with your mouse to be able to click through a house and actually walk up to a window and look outside.
No kidding.
We offer that technology. Drone aerial shots, very helpful. Love the video shots. Now, sometimes with drones, because of airspace limitations, we can't fly them, but most times we can. So photography, Matterport, drone, and we bundle it into a custom website with their address.
Gotcha. Okay, so every Help You Sell listing gets its own custom web page.
Every single one.
Every single one.
And I don't mean to circle back to the Matterport, but lots of people want to claim that they offer this Matterport technology. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to claim, but it costs too much money. We own the cameras in-house. Everyone gets one. It's important in marketing a house.
Yeah, and that doesn't matter if you are the oceanfront, $4 million property. Agreed. Or if you're, the smaller property that's 20 miles inland.
It costs us a lot more money for the 10,000 square foot oceanfront property, yes. But
but they're paying the same fee. And they get the same client satisfaction guarantee.
Agreed.
Very nice.
And back to the philosophical question, what makes us better? Well, these tools make us better, but we also believe in the tools. So if someone were to sign up with us, we say to them, if you are not 100% satisfied, you could cancel our listing at any time. So many people try to rope their clients into a 3-month, 6-month, some extended listing period.
Yes.
We believe that if you're not completely satisfied with what we're producing, you should be able to fire us and hire someone who will. Mm-hmm. Now, again, being a little presumptuous here and a little bit of an ego, by the time they see what we've offered, nobody ever fires us. They realize they'll probably be spending more money for less.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely interesting. And I mean, obviously it's a successful model because you've been successful. But what I'm thinking is, a lot of times I hear agents say, like, you don't want to go with a discount brokerage. I mean, if they're going to discount their fees, what else will they discount? Are they going to, discount the purchase price and all this? So, I mean, how has this been so successful if you guys make such a small, small fee?
Agreed. And my fixed fee is $5,000.
$5K. So $5 million listing, $5K. $600,000 listing, $5K.
$5K.
Gotcha.
That's a great deal. But how could I do it so cheap? You look right in the camera and say, I'm making $5,000. It's not that cheap. It's great service, but based on the actual work we do.
Excellent. Okay. Well, so 2008, that's when you got into real estate, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so it's 2021 now. So you have, how many franchises do you currently own? How many Help You Sells?
4. And then we have 2 other brokerages that are top tier, if you will, in property management. My first day in real estate was actually a wonderful, interesting day. I'll never forget. I was at a bank, a nationwide lender, the day the subprime collapsed. And I didn't know what was going on. And it was almost like everyone was kind of hiding in their cubicle as they didn't know what the world was transitioning into. Now, remember, let's put ourselves back at that point in time where I'm not working for Help You Sell. I'm working for one of the other major brokerages. A lot of them were really going through some very tough times. I mean, like, are they going to collapse or what's going to happen?
Right.
So when we got to the point where we're cutting our teeth on the other brokerages, doing it the conventional way, realize that Help You Sell is doing something different. There really wasn't a need for Help You Sell, because remember, Help You Sell helps people save money, helps them save the equity in their house. If you're going to pay $30,000 in real estate commissions and you could save $15,000, that's $15,000 that you're putting back in your pocket.
Right.
When we had the mortgage crisis, nobody had equity. And I don't mean to rehash that, but I mean, there were foreclosures, there were short sales.
Yeah.
Tons of short sales. Now that people have equity again, that's where Help You Sell comes alive and you're saving money.
So then during the seller's market, you've been doing fantastic.
Fantastic. And by the way, who wants to save money? Yes, the $5 million house guy wants to save money as well, not just the small condo. Everyone likes to save money. And then think about the marketing. Whether you have a mansion and you've hired someone and they send a professional photographer out and you look at those photos, you're the judge. You know what the market is bringing.
Yeah.
You know what kind of marketing is out there. When we take a listing, I love it when our clients actually Google their address and just see it everywhere. Homes.com, Zillow, Trulia, just go down the whole
Do you get
list.
a lot of messages and calls and texts and be like, man, this is really cool?
What I love is when we use that Matterport, which is unique. Not everyone offers that, that even competitors are showcasing their property because of the Matterport. Now, are they doing something wrong? Of course not. They are marketing our property with our Matterport and other photography, but they're giving us credit for it. But because of that high quality of imagery, they're showcasing our properties.
Excellent. Nice. Okay. Well, just to pivot a little bit here, I want to talk a little bit about, I'm always interested in people that are high achievers, kind of what are the things you do to stay sharp and productive? And, you hear a lot of people give advice about, do your morning routine or time block and this and that. I mean, you have a lot going on. And, what are some of the things, give us some insight in how you're able to, be successful and run multiple facets and just of life and business, and you're a family man as well. So how do you kind of run your day and your schedule? Is there any special tips you can give us?
I have some great tips.
Great.
Do what you love.
Okay.
I love what I do. That's the most important thing. And help people. If you love helping people, real estate would be a fantastic job for you. What sets me apart is I answer my phone. I know that sounds silly and ridiculous, but I can't even tell you how many agents are just shocked when you answer the phone and answer their questions and then go to the next telephone call. First 30 years of my life, a lot of phone time. It's never gone away. I don't mind answering the phone, but the biggest thing is love what you do. I was watching a video of a young person who just graduated from Berkeley and couldn't get a job. And as she's crying into the camera, sobbing that she couldn't get a job at Starbucks, she was talking about how a friend suggested she goes into real estate. Now, this just put her over the top as she was weeping. How could I even think that would be an option? And I love the video. I thought, you're right, it's not an option. I love what I do. You would hate it. You shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So success is when people see that you genuinely are trying your best for them, it just comes. It's that simple.
Okay, so basically, even though whatever sort of workload you have, whatever sort of problems come your way, your message is, as long as you're passionate and you love what you do, that's how you get through that, and that's how you're successful. So follow your passion, do what you love what you do.
Absolutely. And any new agents out there, it's infectious. If you love what you do and you're trying your best, it will come through. I believe that.
Awesome. Okay. So how many people work at your brokerage?
Our brokerage is very, very small right now. And there's a reason for that. My wife had some health problems about 5 years ago. The emphasis is on her, us,
Sure,
and a quality balance of life. But the volume we do is probably more than what some of the major teams are doing. Just because we're treating people well, we're giving them great value, and that bleeds through.
Awesome. Okay. How about can you describe one of your biggest losses or one of the biggest things that's happened over your career where you really, learned something that you were able to take into future times in your career, something that you've gleaned off of and that stuck with you, that you really learned a lesson from that's helped you?
Well, I came from a background that was real high pressure. I mean, you're dealing with CFOs and CIOs of defense contractors over paperwork, and I never flinched. You have a job to do, and putting rhetoric and threats aside, as long as you keep your nose down and do exactly what you're supposed to. When it comes to real estate, this is really a differentiator with Help You Sell as well. When I first started, it was in an office that had 1,200 people all doing their own thing, but with one managing broker that was supposed to be in charge of all of those individuals and make sure they're doing the right thing.
Okay.
I am the managing broker. Who is responsible? I am responsible when it comes to the contracts, the paperwork. And the one thing I learned is always evolve, always assume that maybe you're wrong, and learn more and more every day to cross every T, dot every I.
Yeah.
And when things happen, and things do happen,
Yeah.
as long as you've done it properly and it's well documented, that's a great starting point when things don't go right. And realize this is life. This is a person's biggest decision, probably, either buying or selling.
Yeah. There's a lot of emotion tied up in that.
They need guidance, and things go wrong. I'll give another great example. I'll give two parts to it. The first part is I usually tell people the same thing repetitively. If I have a new client, we talk about commissions. Very, very important. But it's the same speech because I don't want to miss anything. And I don't want to do it once. I want to do it more than once so that I've answered all their questions. If someone is educated, I still go through the whole spiel. If someone isn't, the whole spiel. But again, this is life. Things go wrong. I was helping someone sell a beautiful $1 million house, and they were buying even a bigger house. Now, when it came to the two escrows, they weren't lining up properly. So I was giving my feelings and my thoughts on how I would conduct it. And at the end of the day, things didn't line up as well. But again, good communication, always answer the call. If someone says, is it going to happen on Friday? And it's not, deliver the bad news. It's going to be Monday. But it's a joint effort with all parties to make something happen.
Yeah, I love that. I've got a mentor, somewhat of a spiritual mentor, if you will, and he always tells me he loves being wrong about stuff, because if you're wrong about something, you learn from it, and then you can cast it so you'll never be wrong about that again.
One thing I've learned too in this business, and not to be disparaging to anyone, but I had a client who, when the coronavirus was at its peak, we weren't closing on time. And I believe in karma. You know, you have to treat people the way you would want to be treated. The person found out we weren't closing on time. It was going to be delayed a couple days and became amazingly threatful to everybody. Threatful.
Like, I mean, just downright nasty.
Downright nasty. I've been put out. I've been damaged. It should have been on Friday, not on Tuesday. And I'm just hanging my head thinking, oh, gosh, there is karma out there. Don't say those things. It's no fault of the buyer. It's the coronavirus. Things had changed with the lenders and the IRS and other processes. At the end of the day, it wasn't the buyer that delayed the close of the sale. It was the seller. And I just cringed thinking, oh, gosh, do you see how karma could come back? We're not going to speak of it again, but again, that's the perfect example of things go wrong. It's just the nature of life.
Yeah.
So deal with it. Don't be an alarmist. If everyone has good intentions and there's whatever hiccup happened in the process, it happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because even as you tell me that story, and, you know, when in our conversations, you've talked about things that, you know, have been unpleasant, but you still have a smile. And you seem like one of these guys who just always is able to stay positive and keep positive. And that's, you know, I tend to be a little on the sensitive side. And if I'm having a bad day, everybody knows it. Like, they'll just be like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, I'm good. And they're like, no, something's going on with you, right? But so is that like a skill that you've learned, or have you, I mean, you are always smiling. How do you do that?
I think I genuinely am a happy person. And my wife will tell you, she's seen the dark side. I may be up 95% of the time, but I go down like everyone else. But I truly, in the morning, see the glass half full. And I like having a smile on my face. It's easier.
Yeah, totally. Definitely is. Okay, well, so what's your plan for the next, like, 10 years here? I mean, you know, walk me through it. What do you really want to do at this, you know, the next stage of where your business is at and where your life is at?
Because of health concerns, I kept the business purposely low, and I want to grow. I think now's the time to turn on the juice. My wife is doing fine, everyone, by the way.
Yeah, good to hear.
Huge. But to grow, it's really a lot simpler than what people think. Again, if you're thinking about selling your house and you've imagined what the perfect model would be to sell it. Maybe it's the photography. Maybe it's understanding the community or the brochures or whatever it is. In our brokerage, we're committed to giving you whatever it is you want.
Right.
So if we think we have the best marketing out there and there's something new, let us know. I'll give another funny example. Last year, I take it back 2 years ago, someone asked about Nextdoor, the website Nextdoor. And they were...
Yeah, that's like the community one where you can, there's an app for it, right? And you can be like the real estate agent in certain neighborhoods and stuff on the platform, right? Something like that.
I love this discussion because back to what we were saying, let's assume that you don't know everything, that someone else has a great idea.
Yeah.
Always have an open mind and listen. 2 years ago, someone was asking me, well, do you market on Nextdoor? And the first thing that I thought to myself was, who would want to? You know, what is it? I've heard of it, but I've never used it.
Right.
But again, I wasn't going to shut it out. Let's find out. Because I was thinking like how I typically would, or what I thought you or someone else would. Zillow, Trulia, Homes.com, Realtor.com, those websites. Why would you go to a regional neighborhood website to actually look to buy a home? Turned out I was wrong. It's a great website. It's a good format.
Okay.
So we just added it to our arsenal of marketing tools.
Got it. So what are some of the other marketing tools that you're using?
The biggest thing right now are just sheer marketing guarantee and word of mouth. But now we want to get the message out there that we're the best value in real estate. If you're going to sell your home, yes, you could spend more money with someone else, but why wouldn't you want to just give a phone call and find out what others are offering and for what value?
Exactly. But I mean, are there like some specific avenues that you want to spread that message, different channels of marketing besides just?
I would think Facebook
Okay.
would be a huge one.
Yeah.
And be more involved. You know, in today's ever-changing landscape, I, as a real estate broker and professional, I should be worried about what I do post on Facebook just as a individual.
Okay.
So tightening it up and making it more focused to business would be a way to streamline that. I know this sounds silly, but our National Association of Realtors may frown on you celebrating one holiday as opposed to another. And
Really?
Yeah, I've heard rumors of that.
Really?
Where
So they don't like it if you post. They're monitoring what people post, and they frown upon certain things. Or?
Knock on wood. You know, you don't want to get in trouble and step on that.
That's wood right there. If you
Yes.
if you want to make it official.
You know, not step on that landmine, but you have to be politically correct and be cognizant of that.
Sure.
And I think if I were to change my format in the future, it would be just go totally business with Facebook.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, I know as a marketer myself, the divide between here's my business and here's me
Yes.
is going away. So basically now when you're on social media, especially the younger generations, millennials, Generation Z, I mean, you know, if you try to sell me something, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to Google you and I'm going to figure out all about your life, not just your business, but, you know, who is this guy? Can I relate to him? All that kind of stuff. So, you know, I think that there's definitely still value, but that separation between this is my business and this is me is starting to go away. So are you, you know, I've seen, like, you don't seem shy in front of a camera. You do some video stuff, you know, and you're definitely a great communicator. So do you think that would you go on Facebook and just make your personal page a lot more about business, or would you separate everything off, or how would you deal with kind of that diminishing separation of business and personal?
These are great questions. I probably had 3,000 Facebook friends at one point.
Yeah.
Last year, I deleted all of them. Deleted all of them except for my children. And I thought to myself, well, that was a little bit harsh and rash.
Why did you delete all of them, Kurt?
Probably just was tired of the nonsense that we've been exposed to continually every day and just wanted to break.
Yep.
Now, remember, I'm from an engineering background. I truly believe that we'll live longer and be happier. We just unplugged completely.
Hey, there's something to be said about that.
And there's something to be said for just putting the children on speed dial as opposed to sharing photos in that format.
Totally.
But no, everything was strategic as far as family values. And now that we're at a place where we actually could grow more, I think it'd be to keep the formats as intended now. I mean, Facebook is all about the money. And they're letting everyone know that. I think it'd be better just to keep it simple. This is what we do, and this is the Facebook exposure. With Instagram, you know, if I wanted to have fun and a good laugh, I like TikTok.
Yeah. Well, you know, previous or just, you know, before the show, you were talking a little bit about the fact that you do some TikToks for fun here and there. I think it's a really insanely fun platform as well. When I first got on it, I had, you know, a friend saw that I was on there and they were like, welcome to the rabbit hole, because it's easy to, you know, it's very entertaining, and I started doing them and it's a lot of fun. So let me ask, you do some TikToks for fun now and again?
I do, and I'm going to come out with some really good ones, but I became a friend of yours for somehow it gave me your videos.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed them.
Good.
But the thing,
even the inappropriate ones.
all of them.
Okay, good.
But what I like the most about it is, you know, back to my IT background.
Yes.
Everything I put on the internet, I don't mind anyone seeing. Right? It's just
it's out there, right?
It's me. Right? So I'm not hiding or embarrassed, or I don't care if someone's looking at it.
Yes.
So now back to the conspiracy theories about TikTok taking all these photos of your face while you're actually using it.
Oh, sure.
They absolutely do, because how else would they know I'm smirking at a video and then give me two more like it? But I find it very entertaining. The story about the young lady crying into the camera about having to become a realtor was from TikTok.
Right.
And I just thought it was fantastic, because don't do it. Be happy. Do something, because I love my job.
Yeah.
I find it funny
Yeah.
that you don't.
Yeah, well, I love that you talk about. Do you know who Gary Vee is?
No.
So Gary Vaynerchuk, he's a media mogul, a content guy. His clients are Pepsi and the New York Jets, and so he runs a media company, but he's really big into content, and he's one of these guys that got on Twitter and social media in 2005, 2006, right when it started, and he's very, very successful, and he talks about this whole culture of it's cool to be an entrepreneur now, and people think that you get into business for yourself and you can just build this wealth, and that's the most important thing. And his message is always like, look, I've got friends that make $50,000 a year and coach softball and drive Jeep Cherokees, and they're happier than my friends who make $150 million a year and drive Maseratis, but they're just deeply unhappy. And so he talks that about a lot. He's like, we need to shift our idea about currency from money to happiness. Like, how happy are you? Not everybody is supposed to be a real estate agent. Not everybody is supposed to be an entrepreneur. Some people, there's just the whole thing about how, it's trendy and it's cool. And I mean, I have a real estate license, and I talk about this on the podcast, and I was terrible as an agent, so I don't do it anymore. But, I was like, oh, okay, well, everybody's doing this. I can do this and make a bunch of money. And, I spent a lot of time and money, and at the end of the day, it was like, I'm never really going to be that good at this because this is just not me.
I liked when you were talking about the rabbit hole too with
TikTok? Going down the rabbit hole? Yeah.
If you're thinking about using TikTok, don't. It'll suck you in. It just simply does. And I think it does know, not just I'm swiping, but that I'm smiling at some of this stuff. It's all G-rated.
Oh, so you're saying that when you see something, that they're looking at your reaction.
I believe they are. I could be wrong. I'm just guessing on that one.
Tony, have you heard anything about this?
Oh, I mean, there's all kind of theories out there.
Okay.
I mean, when you say something, you speak about a topic.
Yeah.
Where, let's say you want to talk about
listening when she's not supposed to. I know that.
We talk about beers.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you enter your Instagram, Facebook, or whatever.
Yeah.
Google, and then you start seeing beer advertising and stuff like that. Yeah. So, they listen.
Yeah. I remember my stepmom has got one of those Alexas, and this was a while back, and I was talking with her about needing to get a new lawnmower, and like a few hours later, I pulled up Facebook, and there's ads for lawnmowers.
Yeah.
And I was like, Alexa, you were listening to me without my permission.
Well, with this podcast, when people react to you, Max, and say, oh, yeah, they actually take pictures, that's my guess. I think they're actually looking at your facial expressions. And I like comedy. I like the funny stuff, right? And every now and then it starts bringing me down the dark path.
Sure.
And I'm thinking, well, that's not me. I don't like that stuff. And I start smiling at other videos to keep it on the... But I think it's funny how it knows what you smirked at, laughed at, or found funny, and then gives you more of it.
Right, and that's big data. I mean, that's there's tons and tons of new businesses that just farm data, and they're like, we know your customers, we know what they like, we know what they want, we know what kind of content they're looking at. So I mean, that's a lot. So to bring it back to Help You Sell, do you guys use any like third party data stuff to?
I'm trying now to navigate Facebook and Instagram. That's the main focus.
Okay.
And again, the message is so simplistic. Why would you pay more to get less? That's simple. If I'm the best value in real estate, why wouldn't you take 30 seconds to just say, well, how are you the best, right? And understanding how to push that message to the marketplace.
Right.
Because Facebook is amazingly restrictive in the ads that we could do trying to get that simple message out there. And you can't be over the top. You have to...
Yeah, you do. Yeah, especially in the climate right now.
Yes.
You do have to be careful. I looked back 10 years ago at some of the stuff that I posted.
Yes.
And like now I'm like, oh my, like this would be flagged right away.
I'll give a real life example. For a house we just sold here in San Diego.
Sure.
It sold for $800,000. Now, I charge a fixed fee of $5,000. We'll do simple math. And this is for the people listening to the podcast. You know how the market works. It's usually a percentage. It's usually between 5 and 6%. I don't care. Whatever number you come up with. But on an $800,000 house, That's $40,000 in commissions.
Right.
Now, typically, it's split in half. $20,000 goes to the listing side. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not charging $20,000. I'm charging $5,000. And the other 20 goes to the cooperating agent, which I'm urging everyone. You want to pay that fee. These are the people driving potential buyers in the back of their car and are bringing them to see your house. But back to my fee, you're saving $15,000 in this example. That's a huge amount of money.
Sure.
I wish someone would give me $15,000.
Right.
And it's
right.
real money.
Right.
It's your equity that you could save.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, Kurt, it's been a pleasure having you here. Before we go, though, I do need to ask you, I want your opinion kind of on where you see real estate going here in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, how is the role of the agent going to change? Is there going to be more business models in real estate that are going to disrupt how things are done, kind of like Help Yourself's doing? And do you think everybody's going to buy their homes on Amazon? Like, how is this going to unfold, do you think?
I think people are becoming more and more educated. And with that said, they need to ask more questions. It's just not as simple as asking your neighbor who you know is a realtor to come over and put a contract in front of you. Mm-hmm. Shop a little bit. Understand what's out there. Mm-hmm. A good example is another new disruptor is Zillow. But understand what Zillow is offering you. Mm-hmm. Great outfit, but is it right for you? Sometimes when a company like that wants to buy the house themselves from you, understand what your fees are,
right.
what you're paying for, and what you're netting.
Right.
A broker or agent should make their highest priority to put the most amount of money in your pocket at the end of the day. When all the dust settles, you walked away with the most amount possible in your pocket. So as far as being a disruptor out there, I think people understand neighborhoods. They understand their neighborhoods. In the old days, they couldn't. A lot of times when people call me, I know they probably know more about their neighborhood than I'd ever dream because they've been studying it in anticipation of selling it in the upcoming year. So then it boils down to marketing. And don't be embarrassed to ask people to show them exactly how the home will be marketed. Mm-hmm. Examples.
Transparent, yeah?
Absolutely. And shop. And if everything looks the same, and in one scenario you're saving a substantial amount of money, think hard about it.
Awesome. Well, everybody, you heard it here from Kurt Steffien from Help You Sell. Great outfit, client satisfaction guaranteed. It's a total no-brainer. So, Kurt, where can everybody connect with you? How do we get a hold of you? Let the audience know.
Okay, Kurt Steffien. I'm also the managing broker. I love answering the calls, so call me. I will answer the phone. Our main number is 800-277-6903. Or my cell phone number is 562-673-3873.
Fantastic. And everybody out there, if you enjoyed this episode, definitely check us out at thewhatsnextpod.com, on Instagram and Facebook at the What's Next Pod. And all of our video episodes are on YouTube, so be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and share. Thanks again for coming on the show, Kurt. It was a pleasure. Tony, do you have any parting words of advice for our guest or audience before we head out?
Kurt, thank you for coming. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. And always is a good, you always bring a good vibe, and I like that.
Thank you, Tony.
All right. Well, until we meet again for part 2, appreciate your time. Take us out, Tony.
We sit down with real estate agents and talk about how the industry is changing, thriving with technology. We look at strategy. We love it. And welcome to What's Next podcast.